Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube and Twitter for our ROH Death Before Dishonor 2022 preview. I am here with my esteemed colleague, the former co-host of Fusion of Honor. So he is a expert when it comes to Ring of Honor. He is the man of 1,004 numbers, the second.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be here. Glad Tony Khan is giving us another pay-per-view. We didn't know exactly what was happening for a number of months there coming out of Supercard of Honor, but glad to see that they are getting everything on track. Hopefully we'll get news that a TV deal is coming and get a little bit more clarification on who exactly is on the Ring of Honor roster. We've gotten some news about some people being signed exclusively, but who from AEW is going to make the jump over? That's one of the big questions. So glad to just be here and break everything down with you guys.
Yes, but we got to have a third man. It's a preview for a pay-per-view. So we had to call the big guns. And when it is a pay-per-view that has anything to do with the great liberator of black talent, Antoine Khan, and the All Elite Wrestling, the All Elite Fleet, we got to call one person. Yes, it's the face of Midnight Grin, the face of WrestlePurists, one of the most hard-working men in pro wrestling media. This is Joel Hulbert.
You know, the intros, they always get better. Always impresses me. Very fired up to be here, gentlemen. Because as you know, while I am now the kind of, as you said, I kind of come on here to represent the famed All Elite Fleet. At core, honor is real. You know this about me. So I'm all about this. I'll be honest with you guys. This is as excited as I've been for a pay-per-view in probably since last year's All Out. Genuinely. I think this is going to be a hell of a time. And there's certainly some extra ingredients here with Ring of Honor and a couple of my favorite guys and a rematch of something very special. So I'm fired up, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Joe, you have become a regular for our pay-per-view previews. If it's AEW, if it's ROH, so I'm very happy to have you back. And your first time doing a pod with the StatKing, so this is we're bringing worlds together here. It's a great time. So love having you, brother.
Well, I immediately respected, firstly, the shirt. Secondly, the enthusiasm for Ring of Honor. It's always nice to meet other people that care. Genuinely. So it's a pleasure to be on screen with you, pal. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I've been a Ring of Honor fan for a very long time, and back when they were still with Sinclair, we were covering it here, and had to go on hiatus because of the whole sale and everything. So that's why I'm saying I'm hoping they get a TV deal soon. We can bring Fusion of Honor back in a real way.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was gifted over on Fightful in my time back there. We got given a channel where we could fill it with new original content. And my big idea was we're going to do the Honor Hour. And about a month later, they went into hiatus. So, in many ways, I think our show, namely Bob O'Neill, who SP3 is unfortunately familiar with, I think we killed Ring of Honor there for a while. But it survived. Got out of the hospital, now it's walking again. So we're rolling, man. But anyway, I'm glad
Don't worry. I'll give you 5% and then 95% Sinclair Broadcasting.
That works for me. I'll take the 5.
I don't blow smoke over much people's ass, but I do like Joe's content, not just the content that he's on himself for Late Night Grin and WrestlePurists, but his written work. You did a great match review. I gotta say, I read that of Kenta and Zack Sabre Jr. My second or third favorite match of the G1, the first 3 nights. I mean, you could throw the whole night 3 in the bin, but the first 2 nights, the first 2 nights.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you. Match reviews is saying I'm always trying to add different things to my game. That sounded weird, right? That's the best thing I could come up with there. A couple of years ago, I would have hosted a show, and now you've seen me. I do that stuff a lot. I do solo shows. So it's like, this is the latest thing I'm trying to get right. So I appreciate you reading it, man. I mean, Kenta and Zack Sabre, they give me a lot to write about, right? That was a really fun match. So I appreciate you.
It was a great match for sure. And also, you do some producing as well. Not only is the content you're on screen for, but you're the great producer of the Emmy Award-winning The 31. I mentioned that because you mentioned Bob O'Neill, who is a sworn enemy of me due to him murdering my Lakers on national YouTube TV. So, but he does great. on the 31.
He did, and he actually this past week did a real interview in the season finale. He had Jeremy Lambert on, who we're both very familiar with, and he did a 16-minute interview. At one point, he put his finger to his ear and he said, "We're not out of time. This is YouTube," which fair. I wish you'd have come to that conclusion earlier, but you get what you get, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, you've experienced it. It's a hard day's work doing the 31. We get in there early, we write the scripts. You were there for what, 10 hours that day in StreamYard? Like, it was like, yeah, it's challenging.
It was a 10-hour day, but you had craft services, so it was nice. It was nice that I got a meal out of it, so that was cool. Yeah. That was cool.
You're a big guest, man. It is what it is.
I want to hear from all of you guys. What do you think about ROH Death Before Dishonor, which is gonna be live tomorrow night on pay-per-view, Fight TV, BR Live, depending on where you are in the world. It's a 6-match main card, 1 match so far for the pre-show. I'm sure we're going to get more matches. I think Supercard of Honor promoted like 7 or 8 matches, and we ended up getting like 11. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they'll add some more matches to the card. But we want to hear from you in the live chat with your predictions for the card, and of course your super chat donations helps out the channel so much. We are self-funded here, so that's the best way to show your appreciation to what we do, as well as to our contributors. And remember to drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. Mr. JJ has arrived in the live chat saying good evening and hail the honor. Love that. Love that. We got Frantic World here with us saying what's up, SP3, StatKing, and chat. We got Hassan saying, oh, hi there. CM thought with my introduction that it was going to be Jimmy Macaram. CM, you should know Jimmy Macaram well enough. He's not watching this show. I do have a Dynamite review, Joe, with my good friend Jimmy Macaram. I've known him since high school, and he didn't even watch Forbidden Door because he didn't like the Bills. He doesn't know New Japan. He only watches AEW content, so he's not watching this show.
Yeah.
So basically that he can shred it.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was watching.
It always intrigues me, that kind of talk. Like, I haven't got a problem with it. People should watch how they want to watch, but like, there's been this thing recently where when someone criticizes AEW TV, inevitably someone will reply, "Well, yeah, they got that Ring of Honor stuff on there." I'm like, hold up a second, it ain't my fault. I've not done nothing. We got a couple Samoa Joe pre-tapes, ain't nothing else. Just not blame us over here. So it's a little bit of civil war, if you ask me. I think it's going to get heated if we don't get some TV deals going on. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day.
I wasn't aware. I do see in the live chat. My mic wasn't plugged in.
I didn't know if you had a different setup. Yeah.
It was a little weird. Yeah,
I didn't.
You're good now.
Because the worst thing, because I didn't know if you were in a different setup, the worst thing I could do would be like, brother, your mic's off, and then you go, I haven't got my mics, and I'm like, well, fuck. Well, I guess this is how it's going to sound. So it was kind of, I didn't know if
we're professionals here. We're professionals here.
I didn't want to wet the curtain.
Thank you. Thank you for that. He was like, so SP3 currently underwater, and that immediately is like, oh, it's not plugged in. I'm talking out of my earphones like a jackass. We also got a super chat donation here from the good sister Amanda Savage. Thank you so much. My colleague over at WrestleTalk does excellent work. Check out her writing, WrestleTalk.com. She says, I need this comprehensive preview more than anyone. Can't wait to catch up later. Thank you so much. Yes, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you can come back and join us. And CM says, I thought y'all had blackmailed him into it. I don't know with what. If I couldn't blackmail him into watching the show of the year, Forbidden Door, but what makes you think I'm going to blackmail him into doing a preview for ROH Death Before Dishonor?
Fair. That's very fair.
Fair. All right. Like I said, I think we wasted enough time because we only have 7 matches to talk about. So let's get to it. On the pre-show, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, we got Allison K going one-on-one with Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale has been getting a lot of buzz, a lot of push in the ROH sphere or the All Elite fleet. She was on AEW Dynamite this past week, teaming up with Athena to verse Jade Cargill and Kara Hogan. She came up short there, but definitely made her presence known. Allison K has been on AEW before as well. She had a really good NWA Women's World Championship matchup against Serena Deeb. I believe that was the end of 2020 or 2021. So both ladies have had their appearances on AEW. I don't know if these are going to be two women that join the exclusive ROH roster. We'll talk about one signing that Tony Khan has confirmed at the end of this preview. That's the match we're going to be talking about last. Hint, hint. But who do you got in this one? Willow Nightingale versus Allison K Joe.
I think the result is, I think it's a formality. I think it's a chance to get Willow a win, which is saying that I think, you know, her usage suggests they're high on her, as they should be. Absolutely true. As they should be. So this is a chance to get a win. But to me, the story here is Allison K, who has been, I think, a really steady, impressive force on the indies for a while. She obviously had a run with Impact 5 years ago, maybe in that range. A real run, too.
Yeah.
And, you know, the NWA, you can try your best. It is what it is. I feel that, you know, she's someone who really has deserved a contract for a while. I was surprised she didn't get a bigger kind of run of it when she wrestled Serena on the spot you talked about for Full Gear in 2020. So the big thing for me is her. I really hope she makes this count and sticks around, because I think she should be a really fun addition to a Ring of Honor roster, so to speak. But Willow is winning, but my eyes are on what Allison can do in this spot, because I'm very hopeful she can stick around in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I did see a report. I believe it was from PW Insider talking about one of your shows that you review over on Twitch, StatKing NWA. They're creating an NWA Television Championship, and apparently the idea behind that is to give that championship to Allison K to Butcher. But I would like Allison K to be in a promotion with a little bit more eyes on them, that aren't doing fake bits between the president and their top star just to get a little bit of buzz and headlines. I would like her to see her maybe in Ring of Honor. I think it would be cool, but I agree with Joe. I got Willow Nightingale here. StatKing, what do you think about this whole NWA Women's Television title? And is this a good idea for Allison K? How has she been used over in NWA? And then what do you think about the match?
So, for starters, if you guys want to see me completely shred the Nick Aldis versus Billy Corgan fake-ass work storyline, feel free to check out our Twitch channel. It will be covering that. I think it drops today.
It's gonna drop today.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. NWA Power. I think I titled the episode "The W stands for working" in NWA. It doesn't stand for wrestling right now. It stands for working. But yeah, that's just really horribly atrocious. But as for Allison K, a part of me thinks that she would sign with Ring of Honor. She just recently lost, her and Marty Bell, the Hex, recently lost the NWA Women's Tag Team Championships, and then she lost to Kylan King in sort of a pseudo number one contenders match. But I think she would really, really be useful on the Ring of Honor roster as opposed to the NWA roster, because she's just not going to get the screen time with the NWA that she would with Ring of Honor. And she is somebody, to Joe's point, that deserves to have a contract and deserves to be on television a lot more than she is currently. However, I do agree with you guys. Willow should be getting this win. She was taking losses on Dark and Elevation, and slowly she has risen up the card, so to speak. And she is definitely somebody that they have a lot of plans for. The only thing I would find interesting is that I know that she was doing some work with MLW, so I'm not 100% sure whether or not they have her signed to a contract or whether it was just pay per appearance kind of situation. But either way, if that can get ironed out, then I'm pretty sure that Tony's going to be pushing her as the one of the next big things for Ring of Honor. But this should be a good match, just in general.
I agree. Absolutely. The one thing that's interesting here too is, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. So I think we're all keen on the idea of pushing Willow in Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I can't shake is, though, if we imagine Ring of Honor as being the more niche product, basically for folks like us that are really into like the technicalities of wrestling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big part of me feels like Willow, honestly, if I was to rank the roster in terms of who's the most viable to get over in a big way on national TV in prime time, Willow would be really high on that list. And in some ways, I kind of feel like I would switch her in for someone else on the AEW side and maybe do. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know.
It does, but you also got to remember that part of what Ring of Honor is going to be is a sort of pseudo developmental for AEW.
Right.
When you look at it from that perspective, yes, she has had a lot of experience on the indies, but one thing she hasn't had a lot of experience is TV time and knowing how to play to crowds, how to play to the camera. She knows how to play to crowds of a live crowd, but the general aspect of TV, knowing when and where your angles are, knowing when and where to hit your finisher, you can tell the difference in AEW, especially in the beginning, of the guys who came from WWE or from other promotions that had TV time, knowing if you're going to hit a finisher, make sure you're facing hard cam, different things like that. And I think that Willow still needs a little bit of time to get some of those just tips and tricks, and that Ring of Honor is a great place for her so that by the time she does come over to AEW, maybe in a year or longer, however long they feel that she needs to have developed, she will have had that polish and will instantly elevate the AEW women's division. And on top of that, they'll be able to say, because I'm assuming, a former Ring of Honor women's champion.
Right. Yeah, because it feels like she'll be the focus there, which I think is the key, right? Absolutely. Good point.
Yeah, that's why I want her to kind of be that top baby face for the women's division of Ring of Honor. But I do also agree with Joe. Someone like a Sky Blue, I think, is someone that needs that polish, needs that development a little bit more than Willow. I think Willow, she can get those, spots and how to work the hard camera by just being on TV, and she's kind of developed before our eyes from where she was in that Red Velvet match to what she did on Dynamite this past Wednesday. But let's talk about the main card. The newest match added to this main card on Dynamite this past Wednesday is for the ROH 6-man tag team titles. Yes, you wanted trios championships. Wait. Before we get to AEW, we got to bring back the ROH 6-man tag team titles, and the last champions before Ring of Honor went out of business officially under Sinclair in December was Vincent and the Righteous. They are all back to get together, and they will be facing former ROH 6-man tag team champions Dalton Castle and the boys. The OG boys are back with Dalton. Who's going to walk out with the ROH 6-man tag team title, StatKing?
Holy shit, Tony Khan remembered that he has 6-man titles. It's crazy. I'm giving this one to, it's weird because it feels as though the Righteous should lose the titles, but at the same time, it feels as though the Righteous should retain the titles. One reason why that I think that they should retain it is that I don't know what exactly the contract status is with Dalton and the boys. However, Vincent is with Impact and has done work with New Japan. So bringing him over is probably easier and just smoother than maybe the boys or Dalton. Now, the boys have been on NWA as a tag team. They were part of the Crockett Cup this year. Dalton has appeared a little bit here and there on AEW. I think he did have an AEW match. I think it was on, it might have been on Darker Elevation or something like that.
Battle of the Belts. That
was it. So I don't know his status. Honestly, having Dalton Castle be part of ROH or AEW would be really cool. But yeah, I'm going to give this one to the Righteous just because I think it makes more sense to be able to work with them. And it just helps strengthen that Impact New Japan bond of having titles on multiple people from different promotions.
Who you got, Joe?
Interesting one, right? I think my guess is Dalton and the boys because I think Castle's going to stick around. I think there's just slight signs. There's nothing crazy, but I do think there's slight signs that Tony's interested in keeping him around. If you look at the era that Tony clearly remembers fondly of Ring of Honor, based on the incredible Kyle O'Reilly singles push that we got for about 6 weeks there. I was a big fan of the same era, and like Dalton was he was like one of the biggest rising stars in the industry at the time. So I think he wants to feature him. My guess though is that as trios, I think they're kind of going to be a bridge to get these belts on Tully Blanchard Enterprises, will be my guess. And they'll kind of, kill Dalton and the boys. How do I say this in a way that sounds polite? I don't know if this needs to be on this show. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? You need something to break up the important stuff. But, I can't tell you that my reaction to the graphic was, "Oh yes, the Righteous is back." You know, it was more like, "Oh shit, the Righteous is back." You know, it is what it is. It's just that was my reaction.
If this had been a pre-show match, I wouldn't have been upset either.
Right, that's fair. Yeah.
Hey, does this lead to some more, like your StatKing said? Maybe we get some Impact crossover and Honor No More and fuck Matt Taven can show up.
Let's take it easy here, okay? It's early enough that we don't even get doing those kind of threats live on the air. All right, so everyone calm down. The show is tomorrow night. I'm fine with Matt Taven, but Honor No More needs to be no more. Okay, elsewhere. Rude.
Hey, they got a great theme song. They got a great theme song.
That's half the battle. That's half the battle.
I am interested in Impact Original, who protected the company, Davey Richards. Now, if we can get him back, and then I can talk me into it a little bit, right? But Paul Bauer, you know how much he's paying, bro. You ain't going to get him away from there. You know, that's the big time.
He's defending the National Openweight Championship at New Japan show in Nashville, Music City Mayhem, against Clark Connors. So
how many times, SP3, have I said to you? Sometimes I'll just message him randomly. I'll say, is there a more prestigious title than the National Openweight MLW title? I regularly will message you that, right? I regularly do.
Yes.
You know, honestly, I think Sid's
you'll hit me up
to
because
me.
it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, and you're like, MLW.
I'll be like, sometimes I'm messaging like, hey man, Alex is not replying to my messages about the MLW title. Can you tell him about this, please? And like a screenshot of it. You know,
he's like, can you write this article for Wrestle Talk about the National Overweight?
No, people aren't talking about it enough. You know.
But I do agree with Joe on this one. I feel like Dalton Castle and the boys are playing the role of Minoru Suzuki that he played as Supercard of Honor. They're gonna win the titles just to pass it on to a person who is signed to AEW and Tully Blanchard's Enterprise and the hardest working man in all of AEW, Brian Cage. He needs some gold. It's quite depressing that he made his return to AEW television just in Jonathan Gresham's corner, and he's gonna need some gold along with Gates of Agony. So I could see that being the guys that Dalton Castle and the boys transition these titles to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. The Suzuki comparison is good. Can we go a little bit further with that? What if Samoa Joe wins the trios titles just on his own?
I mean, that's a great throwback to Impact,
right? Like, imagine the visual.
That really strengthens the bond,
right? Like, imagine he had the TV title around his waist, and he just had like the one around the neck, two over the shoulders, trios champion, baby. Mm-hmm.
And then
seen it before.
Well, and then Tony Khan is able to get Kurt Angle to come out of retirement, and you do the rematch.
Oh, the gold, brother.
Now we're booking, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
We're cooking here. We're cooking here on this ROH Death Before Dishonor preview here. Let's talk about the actual matches that they have tried to build to now. For the ROH Pure Championship, it's going to be Wheeler Yuta defending against Daniel Garcia. These two men had one of the best independent matches of last year, a 60-minute time limit draw for the IWTV Championship, and they have transitioned this feud into AEW ROH adjacent. They were a part of course, the Blackpool Combat Club versus Jericho Appreciation Society feud, which I think it's still going on, despite them having blood and guts and the Blackpool Combat Club coming out on top. It's still going on, apparently, and these two are splintering out from that, having this single feud for the Pure Championship. I think that these are two perfect guys for the Pure title to really establish this title, establish this division. Who walks out with the gold, Joe?
Really interesting, the result part of this. This is a very special matchup, right? I think the FTR Briscoes rematch kind of steals the show in terms of, if you watch the first match, you know, it is what it is, it sells itself. But this is the one you circle and say, if that ain't the best match of the night, this just may be. Two guys that are very much cut from the same cloth for the guys who made this belt special 17 years ago, whatever it was. Two guys with a natural dynamic, natural chemistry, a history. I'm going with Yuta because the Blackpool Combat Club thing, I think Claudio leaves with the belt later. Getting ahead of myself here. And then you'll have them with all the belts, you know, in some form or fashion. But there is a big part of me that feels like Garcia should just win this belt right here. To me, Yuta's appeal isn't based as much on winning. He's an endearing underdog in a lot of ways. Garcia hasn't won a lot of big matches, and he's Red Death, and he's not based on being an underdog. He's a killer in there, you know. So I think Garcia in some ways should win, but I think they want the Blackpool Combat Club photo shoot to look cool. So I think Yuta keeps it on Saturday night.
StatKing.
I'm gonna go with Yuta as well. I agree with literally everything that you said. If FTR Briscoes were not on the card, or you didn't know they were going to be on the card, this is definitely the match that you think is going to steal the show, because these are just two incredibly talented people. Wheeler Yuta was in the Pure title tournament when they brought back the title under Sinclair. He did really well in the tournament and in the division itself up until Ring of Honor shut down. But man, Garcia is just the one guy in the Jericho Appreciation Society that does not scream entertainer. Is the guy that is fighting for this Pure Championship as a wrestler, and it's going to be a really great match. I really do kind of wish Garcia would win, but I'm gonna go with Yuta because I do believe that Blackpool Combat Club draped in gold picture is soon coming, and then you can have a little guy, a little Bryan Danielson there. Like, wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute.
Danielson needs to come back and be like, where's my title? Where's my title coming from? I gotta agree with everything you guys have said. Wheeler Yuta kind of just won the championship. He's only had defenses on AEW Dark Elevation, so I could see him defending here, but I think this might be a longer feud. This might be the start of something that kind of they keep going with the Pure Championship. You want to say hi to everybody? Say
hi. What's going on? Harley?
Ring of Honor's for the kids, folks. I've been telling people that for years.
ROH, it's for the kids.
Wait, do you when you say that, do you show them the Age of the Fall debut?
Oh yeah. This is important, man. It's like showing them a classic movie, man. You got to let them grow up at some point. You know?
The blood coming down.
All-time great angle, by the way. That's a great call.
It is a great shout. Exactly. ROH Women's World Championship is up for grabs as Mercedes Martinez, the undisputed champion, is going to defend against Serena Deeb. These two women started off as tag team partners on AEW Dark Elevation, AEW Dark, and AEW Rampage, but it soon fell apart, and it was all about Serena Deeb kind of scouting Mercedes Martinez ahead of going after the ROH Women's World Championship. This is two women that were kind of pioneers when it comes to women's wrestling in Ring of Honor. They did a great video package on this on the countdown to Death Before Dishonor, talking about their time early on in Ring of Honor. Who's going to walk out with the gold in this one, StatKing?
I'm taking Serena Deeb to win this one and take the gold. It's an interesting situation because just as we were talking about with Wheeler Yuta, she is a relative new champion. She has not held that title for a very long time. However, Serena Deeb is somebody who really can act as the cornerstone of that women's division and be a top heel for someone, I don't know, a Willow, to potentially be chasing and going after. Particularly that feud of a Deeb versus Willow is just awesome on paper because of Deeb's technical ability and her focus on being a wrestler. And Willow is, while she is a technical wrestler as well, she has her moments, she is definitely a lot more about connecting with the crowd and having those big moments with entertaining people. So it's just a great polar opposite kind of setup. And a part of me just is just like, Mercedes Martinez was in a position where she was just somebody signed to AEW who happened to have been in Ring of Honor who could take that title from Deonna Purrazzo. That's basically what it feels like. So as much as I like Mercedes Martinez as a competitor, and I think as though she, for her work in Ring of Honor and her work on the independents, kind of deserved that moment, it does feel as though it's time to, especially if Tony is serious about really building Ring of Honor and really turning it into some kind of a developmental / secondary promotion to AEW, it really seems as though it's time to start kicking that into high gear. And you start with your women's division by putting the title on Deeb, particularly because one of the biggest complaints since pretty much day one of AEW has been that women's division. You got to start planting more seeds to start training up your next batch so that you can get them in there and they can take off. So I'm going to give this one to Deep.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, man. I think there's a lot of moving pieces. The build itself was very much a case, and Tony Khan he does this a lot, and it will affect some more than others. But it was very much a case of, I want to book this match. How can I come up with a reason to book it? And that was kind of they did it on TV, but not really, right? It was just an excuse, and that's fine. It is what it is. He's a matchmaker more than a kind of, storyteller in that sense, and that's fine. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So I think the excitement isn't overwhelming for this, but I think the people that know and are aware of these two women and what they've done in their careers and where they're even at now, especially on Serena's side, I think everyone's kind of pretty confident this is going to be a kick-ass match, right? I think this should really be a strong one. I hope the placement's nice and it kind of gives them a chance to have like a fresh crowd rather than going in between two of the matches we're about to talk about, or the one we just did. So those things are factors, but to me, the result, it feels like Serena is the perfect woman to build this around, because I don't know if she quite has the personality to build the AEW women's division around her, but this is a much more spitting task. For Mercedes, her value really is as a player coach, mid-carder in the division. That's not an insult. That's very, very important. And that's, after the great career she's had, that's tremendous. I don't think she needs to be the Ring of Honor World Women's Champion to do that, is what I'm getting at. I think Serena's someone they want to protect more. Serena's going to take it here, I think.
We're once again in agreement here. I got to make it unanimous. Serena Deeb, I've been huge on since she's come into AEW. Like, she's been so consistent, had so many good to great matches, whether it's Hikaru Shida, Riho, Thunder Rosa. And I think that she's had her opportunities at the AEW Women's World Championship, where if you then have her, it was just in May that she lost to Thunder Rosa. If she turn around here and gets a shot at the ROH Women's Championship and comes up short, it's kind of like, okay, what do you go from here? Is this feud going to continue? Are you going to give her another shot and then she wins there? You might be kind of cooling her off a little bit too much. And I feel like she had some momentum coming out of the feud with Hikaru Shida that you need to pay off with that. And I think as they coach backstage already for AEW, this is the perfect position for her to be the women's world champion and start to groom the women that can go through Ring of Honor and eventually go to AEW. So I also got Serena Deeb in this one. Now, this is a feud that, if you watch the countdown to ROH Death Before Dishonor, you would think this is the most compelling feud of this show, because this goes back nearly 17 years. Now, if you actually watch AEW week to week, you will realize that Jay Lethal has been cutting the same goddamn promo for 7 weeks. But these two men have a lot of history with one another. It is Samoa Joe, the ROH Television World Champion, defending against Jay Lethal, the longest reigning ROH World Television Champion in history. Jay Lethal was basically Samoa Joe's young boy back in 2005 in Ring of Honor, and he got frustrated with being Samoa Joe's young boy due to Samoa Joe beating him for the Pure Championship, and now he's held that grudge for, I guess, 17 years, he says now. And it's finally come out. These two men cross paths at ROH Supercard of Honor. Joe kind of taking the spotlight away from Lethal, who turned heel at that event, aligned with Sanjay Dutt. Samoa Joe took the spotlight, choked out Sanjay Dutt. Then he went on to beat Minoru Suzuki for the ROH World Television Championship. And Jay Lethal took the spotlight from him on that occasion and debuted his giant Satam Singh. But over the course of the last month, ever since Jay Lethal, Satam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt jumped Samoa Joe following Double or Nothing, it's really been the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar feud of we haven't seen to interact. We've just heard Jay Lethal cut the same goddamn promo every week on AEW television. But I think these two men will deliver a great match. But who walks out with the ROH World Television Championship, Joe?
There's a lot to like here, and I will get to it, and I'll give you my pick. But you mentioned it, so I feel I have to, this has been kind of bizarre to me, because I thought my kind of inner read on it was maybe they don't want Joe to be seen at all, because the idea is, he's kind of looming. He's gonna be at the pay-per-view. You'll see him then. And then when I watched the Countdown show, it was like, they've sent a camera crew to get promo footage from Samoa Joe. Like, I understand you have the minute by minutes are bad when you do pre-tapes and all this stuff, but like, man, I think you've got to find time to get some Joe promo on the show. Like, if you didn't want to show him at all, then don't have him on the countdown, because the countdown stuff was incredible. I know it's boring and everyone gets mad when we say it should be on TV, but like, give me 30 seconds, like just some of the detail. None of it's on TV, as you said. But anyway, that's secondary to the real point of this, which is Joe is back in Ring of Honor, which for me personally is a huge deal. I know this isn't most kind of blockbuster, most exciting matchup, but it's a fun one. And Joe, I think, showed some very encouraging signs in his little run there in AEW before he went off to do the TV show, right? So I think I'm confident it'll be good. Unfortunately, I do not know if Joe's return will be triumphant here. I just get the sense that this belt is kind of a bizarre thing to have on Joe to begin with. Joe's value at this point is an attraction that has feuds with guys like Moxley, Punk, Kingston, so on and so forth. It ain't to be the television champion. And do I think Lethal needs that at this point in his career? No, but I just get this sense that with two guys at ringside and the shoulder injury, I think they're going to put the belt on Lethal, which is kind of a bummer for me personally, but I'm happy to see Joe back nonetheless.
What about you, StatKing?
I do want to go with Lethal on this one, just because I think that Samoa Joe is somebody who has a lot of potential against world champions in Ring of Honor, either man who wins in that main event match. Lethal, though, on the other hand, to me, he doesn't need the title. It's not the title necessarily that he needs. He needs the win. It's almost any win. Jay Lethal needs it at this point, because he's just kind of been just up and down seesawish. And more importantly, to you guys' point, his opponent has not been there for months now. He's just dealing with a camera. He's talking to a camera. And it is kind of funny that you bring up Brock and Roman, because it's almost like Brock and Joe when they had their short little mini feud, except now Joe's in the position of Brock. But yeah, it does seem kind of bizarre that Joe was even the person to take it from Minoru Suzuki. But I understand why they did it. And I want to pick Jay Lethal in this one, but a part of me feels as though Tony wants to give Joe that win on his return to continue building Joe as a serious threat for anybody and anything that he goes up against. Especially because I think the last time we saw him was the Owen Hart, right? That was the match with Cole, and he ends up losing that match. So Tony, part of me is like, Tony does not want Joe to have been taking back-to-back losses like that. Part of me really thinks that Joe's going to retain. I would love for Lethal to take that title because I think the promos with him and Sanjay Dutt would get a lot more hilarious than they already have been, at least to me. But yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Joe.
Yeah, I definitely understand the argument for Jay Lethal, because Samoa Joe, I want to see Joe versus CM Punk. I want to see Joe versus Eddie Kingston. I want to see Joe versus guys from New Japan like Tomohiro Ishii. But there's really no one who is ROH centric that I really want to see him against, which makes it necessary for him to hold the ROH television championship. So I do agree with Joe on that point, but I do agree with StatKing. I can't see them not having Samoa Joe return and win here, like overcome the pain and beat Jay Lethal to shut him up. Because honestly, I feel like Samoa Joe's just holding this title to lose it to Saddam Singh. That's who I think is going to be the next ROH World Television Champion.
And in the immortal words of Sanjay Dutt, all the people in India will be eating jalebi and gulab jamun. I just laughed when he said that because I know what those are. So like, I was just like, this is hilarious. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're hilarious promos to me. So
that rules. I have a couple outs. Okay, I want to run these past you guys. What do you think? This is my pitch number one for Joe winning, but then losing the belt. I think it should be Takeshita. That's what I think it should be. I think Samoa Joe should be, and I would honestly do it like this, even though it's kind of 0-2 Undertaker, which is not a comparison I often try and draw. I would honestly have Samoa Joe challenge Takeshita and just be like, you fit what this represents, this brand. Because I loved that vision. If you remember when he came out and helped, he saved Gresham and Moriarty. Joe basically did a post-show promo that was effectively him kind of framing himself as like the protector of the brand. Like these guys will take it forward. I'm just here to make sure it doesn't, fall apart.
Yeah.
Him picking a guy like Takeshita would be perfect. And Takeshita getting his first big TV win against Samoa Joe in a Rampage main event, maybe, like, that's very compelling to me. The other one that's kind of more high profile, does Ring of Honor need 3 singles titles if it's going to be a 1-hour TV show? Probably not, right? So what you could do is the first Ring of Honor TV could be main evented by Claudio and Joe to unify those. And then you have the Pure as your mid-card, So a couple different ideas that can get you out of this, because whether Joe wins or loses, the TV title is in a weird spot regardless, because Joe was the TV champ 8 years ago, right? Like, as you said, you don't need the belt, he needs to win. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, but there's a couple ideas anyway.
The question I would ask about Takeshita is, do we know how long he is with AEW? Like, how long this excursion is supposed to last?
There was talk of a year. He's going back for a brief return, but the talk was a year. And I think, frankly, he's been so impressive. I think that will be pretty fluid. I think they're going to try and make that work best they can. We'll see.
I love the Takeshita idea. Takeshita, I would love to see him win the ROH TV title. I love to see him win the TNT championship. Takeshita has overexceeded expectations. I don't know what anybody's expectations was for him, but he's exceeded anybody and everyone's expectations, and he's been killing it on the independent scene. I just saw his matchup with Speedball Mike Bailey from West Coast Pro, which was fantastic. He has a match with Lee Moriarty on Prestige that's available on YouTube as well, Takeshita, and he's been killing it in AEW. Hangman Adam Page, Eddie Kingston, the last match with Moxley, and I liked his promo on the road too, where he said he's gonna get that one big win on TV. So that would play into what Joe's saying, that he gets that big win against Samoa Joe. But you did bring up the ROH World Championship. Let's talk about that match. It's a big one, as Jonathan Gresham, the undisputed ROH World Champion, will defend against Claudio Castagnoli. This match has been built on the fact that Claudio has never won a world title in his entire career, whether it be PWG, Shikara, ROH, WWE. Claudio has been denied the opportunity to win the big one. Does he do it against Jonathan Gresham, 2 of the best technical wrestlers in the world? Gresham recently turned heel, joining Tully Blanchard Enterprises, defeated Lee Moriarty to successfully defend the ROH World Championship, and he says he's going to be on AEW television from now on. Oh, so he thinks. Who do you think walks out with the gold here, Castagnoli or Gresham? Let's start with Joe.
This is so interesting because the chat over on our Late Night Grin channel would keep saying Claudio for Gresham's opponent, and I was like, they're not doing Claudio after they just turn Gresham heel. Like, there's no way they're doing. They'll get to that eventually. I always assumed the belt would end up on Claudio because Hager made the point of saying, like, you haven't won a world title. He said Ring of Honor specifically, and WWE, of course. But I'm amazed they're doing this so soon. That's not a criticism. It's just like a comment. I'm pumped for the match. I think it's a really fun style matchup. I think it will really click. I just can't see past Claudio winning this belt, man. Like, I think it's a case of they want Claudio to be like the guy who represents the brand as they go into this new era. And maybe from Gresham's point of view, it's like he can live to fight another day kind of thing. Whether that's fair or not, we can debate into the cows coming, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think Claudio's getting this belt. So we'll see, but I'm very excited.
Who you got, StatKing?
So the argument in favor of Jonathan Gresham is that if you turn a guy heel and then you give him a stable and a faction, he should not lose immediately after that happens. But AEW got that out of the way by having him beat Lee Moriarty.
Exactly. Well, I truly believe that's what they think. I genuinely believe that's what they think.
Now, the argument in favor of Claudio is Tony Khan was planning on having Claudio debut at Death Before Dishonor before Bryan Danielson got hurt. That debut was going to be more than likely in a match. Claudio was not going to lose that match if it was his debut match. And building off of the strength of what happened at Blood and Guts, then having the match with Hager, which is, Hager is not, in amateur wrestling, probably very good and very technical, but his style in the ring now is much more of a brawler because of his MMA striking capabilities. It's not that level of technical anymore, but it is. We'll say that Hager's a technical wrestler. Building on that and then going towards to go to Gresham, I cannot see Claudio losing this match, and it gives him such a moment just for his overall career. And one thing that Tony Khan absolutely loves doing is taking somebody who was treated a certain way for many, many years and then finally giving them that moment and giving them that spot. Gresham is somebody that has been Ring of Honor through and through for years. The foundation, all of that. Claudio, on the other hand, represents both the old and the new. And that, I think, is really what the focus is going to be for Ring of Honor going forward. And it feels as though there's a lot better opportunities of people chasing Claudio than people chasing Gresham, just because at the end of the day, as much as Gresham may hate it, you know, there is in wrestling the concept of size does matter. Gresham being a smaller champion is always going to be an underdog kind of fighting champion. And that's tougher. It's a little bit tougher to do as a heel than it is as a face. And Gresham's turn just felt so weird and out of the blue that it just does not line up properly. I'd love for Gresham to win this match because I'm a big Jonathan Gresham fan, but I can't see Claudio losing this match. I'm going to go with Claudio.
Now, there's a reason why we're talking about this match here, because like Joe has kind of alluded to this entire preview, there's a match that's bigger on this card. So I could realistically see the ROH World Championship matchup being in the middle of the show. And I could realistically see all the matches we talked about being the only matches on this pay-per-view, because this is going 60 minutes. I'm going for a draw.
Oh,
you gotta build
a classic Ring of Honor.
A classic Ring of Honor. This is classic Ring of Honor booking.
I can buy into that.
You do the draw and you create the chase for Claudio. He came this close to winning the championship, and he chases Jonathan Gresham. And instead of doing what Joe said of the TV champion versus world champion on the first ROH TV show, that's when Claudio wins the championship. The first ROH TV show, that's what you build into.
It really does say a lot about the level of nerd you're sharing the screen with in myself and the great StatKing, because we both was like, oh fucking hell, 1 hour, here we go. You know what I mean? Like most places now, you say, I'm sure people in the chat are like, oh god, an hour. We were like, here we go, Ring of Honor is back. You know.
ROH.
Claudio goes for one final uppercut.
Yeah. Oh.
Time is getting ready to elapse. He gets him up into the neutralizer, and then all of a sudden Gresham turns it into some kind of submission hold. But Claudio does not tap as time expires. Mm-hmm. Crowd throws streamers. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm with that.
Especially if this isn't the main event, it's not the time to put the title on Claudio. Claudio winning the championship needs to end the show. But like I said, like Joe said, like StatKing said, there's one match that's bigger than this matchup. And it's going to be for the ROH World Tag Team Championships. FTR will defend against the Briscoes in the Briscoes motherfucking bag. 2 out of 3 falls. Briscoes are famed for 2 out of 3 falls matches and winning 2 straight. No matter who they were up against, they swept these motherfuckers in 2 out of 3 falls matches. And that includes Kevin Steen and El Generico in their famed feud back in 2007. It doesn't matter who you name that the Briscoes have faced in 2 out of 3 falls matches, they get 2 straight. And it was FTR that suggested this matchup to prove they are the better tag team. We did find out during the ROH Death Before Dishonor pre-show media call that the Briscoes are officially signed with Ring of Honor. So who's going to walk out with the ROH World Tag Team Championships? Let's start with StatKing.
This is how do you call this one? FTR are on a crazy roll. They are on the run of their lives, the run of their careers by far. And they have been knocking every single match out of the park. And they're part of that gimmick, part of this run has been their belt collector aspect and the fact that they are just winning titles everywhere. On the flip side, you have the Briscoes now being announced that they are 100% signed to Ring of Honor. They dropped the Impact titles to the Good Brothers not too long ago. We now know they are going to be with Ring of Honor for the long haul. We know that this is their match. It is their wheelhouse. This is incredible to me. I honestly don't know who to pick, but my heart says, I hate to say it, especially because that fucking promo that we saw on Dynamite. But I'm gonna give this one to the Briscoes, but I do not feel any level of safety about this pick whatsoever. It could easily go both ways. I'm literally picking the Briscoes because it's their match and they are signed now to Ring of Honor. That's the sole argument in their favor for me.
And this 100% changed my pick because I was going FTR 100%
up until that news broke. I think it was yesterday.
Yes.
I was 100% FTR.
Yeah.
I was 100% FTR as well, but finding out the Briscoes are officially signed, I'm going with the Briscoes. They're not going to do 2 straight, but 2-1. Briscoes win the championships, and we're on our way to FTR Briscoes 3 Ladder War at Final Battle. Joe, I know Supercard of Honor was your favorite match ever. You've said a few times on social media. So you got the final stage. What's your prediction for this match?
Man, I'm just like, this is I can't compare this to anything else as a fan because my investment here isn't about who wins and loses. Of course, I'm going to give you guys a pick, I know how nerdy this sounds, but this is where I'm at, guys. I am just really excited to see what these 4 dudes come up with to top what they did last time. Because I trust their instincts, and like I genuinely think they're 2 of the top. I'll say 10 to be safe, but I think when people look at what the Briscoes have done, I think they're 2 of the top 5 tag teams in like American wrestling history. I think they're that great. I think people really sleep on day one, man. Like those dudes have been killing it for the long, and obviously FTR. So this is a special moment in time. It's worth appreciating these kind of matchups because it's just they're made for each other. I think I'm going to also go with the Briscoes, which is very funny. And I agree with all of you guys about the contract thing. But the other factor here, the Young Bucks losing those AEW belts sure changed this match to me.
Yes.
I know we're all fantasy booking, but let's be honest, we had all penciled it in, all the belts, all out. If FTR win here and move and put the Briscoes in their rear view window, it's like they're number 1. They have to wrestle Swerve in Our Glory. That's all they've got left. And I don't think that really makes sense. Why do a babyface match, so on and so forth? So it's like I'm kind of a loss in terms of what they would do next if they were to win. I do agree. Demon Grin mentioned in the chat, and I said it yesterday. I think the Bucks are a factor in this. It would not surprise me if the Bucks, in some form or fashion, whether it's tomorrow or down the line, get themselves involved in this little circle here. I could definitely see you getting a triple threat tag of some kind, maybe with some ladders involved, perhaps even.
That would be yes,
because that makes sense, and it's a way to add some juice to what's already an incredible series of matches. So, there's a lot here. I'm going to pick the Briscoes, which, as we all mentioned, is hilarious because we wouldn't have done it like 2 days ago. But no. I don't know, man. I will say, like, as a fan, as someone that loves Ring of Honor, it was kind of crazy the idea that the Briscoes would just be like kicked out from within their own house because of, and look, very real things, right? You have to be held accountable by stuff. But ultimately, it was weird the idea that Ring of Honor would live in a way that meant they couldn't be around. It was just strange. That's all. Not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying it was weird. And the idea that that's now kind of passed, it feels a lot better for me going into this. So I'm very excited. I'm going to take the Briscoes.
Wow. Yes, I'm ready for all of this. Like, I'm excited about all the possibilities we just talked about. Final third match between these 2 teams, or the Bucks being inserted and making it a triple threat. Because if the Ladder War ain't the Briscoes match, it's definitely the Young Bucks because they've had classics in Ladder Wars as well, and that would be the perfect 2 teams for FTR to have it with it. So. It's gonna be. I agree with Joe. After this whole conversation, this whole preview, I'm very excited for tomorrow night and this pay-per-view. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us. Always, you are always welcome here on the YouTube channel, and of course, like always, we're gonna see you back here for All Out preview. Joe, let the people know where they can see you. Until then, all the great things you're doing, good brother.
Well, I appreciate it. Look at this one shot. This is good. LateNightGrin.com will catch you out on just about everything. I'm going to be on the air in 3 hours with the great Jay Sheldon Nicole. We're going to do our Retire the Rankings program. And then tonight, the Late Night Grin is back. It's live after Rampage. It often will go 3 to 4 hours. If you like this, you'll love that. If you do not like this, please steer clear. You won't like it at all. Also, and feel free to put me on screen with you two gentlemen here, because I have a key statement to make. To quote Shaquille O'Neal, StatKing, I owe you an apology. I wasn't familiar with your game. Great performance tonight, pal. Love doing this with you. It was great to share the screen with you.
Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it.
Love it. StatKing, let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on the Twitch channel. You're becoming the face of our Twitch channel.
Oh, well, shit. That's a little scary. But you guys can catch me on our Twitch channel on Dark Power, covering AEW Dark, Elevation, NWA Power. Like I mentioned earlier, the NWA the Power episode is going to be dropping this Friday. We aim for Fridays on Twitch, something we hope we can count on and rely on. And you guys can catch me on Rampage Wrap Up with the True Draw Josh, where we talk about everything that happens on Rampage, or as we have recently been calling it, I don't know how exactly you pronounce this, but ROH Page, because basically this entire pay-per-view was built off the back of AEW Rampage for the past couple weeks. And, of course, you guys can catch me on THH Sports, our sister channel, where we cover basketball, football, baseball, UFC, all kinds of great stuff. You guys can catch us there. We just had our newest episode of THH Sports, the AFC South preview, and a whole bunch of other good things with the news and top 10 quarterback lists. I was on that with Romeo and Top Guy JJ. It was a great conversation, particularly because JJ is a Titans fan and did not appreciate where we had the Titans ending up in the season. So check that one out if you guys get the time. But I want to say thanks for having me on. Joe, you are awesome with your level of knowledge about Ring of Honor. It's really great to be able to talk to people who know and can reference that history, because like how many people just off the face of it are going to be like, oh, well, you know, I mean, the Briscoes and FTR had a match. It makes sense to kind of go 2 out of 3 falls without knowing that background, that this is the Briscoes wheelhouse. So appreciate being able to hang out with you, good sir.
You carried me, bro, but don't worry about it. It was easy.
And humble, too.
Humble as hell. I love Joe.
We don't have to lie.
You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TrueHillHeat. Patreon.com/TrueHillHeat. $3 a month. Exclusive content. We got the G1 Climax 32 Night 3 review that's going to be up tomorrow, as well as Night 4. That's what Jay News has told me. And I also got a special of Tokyo Joshi Pro. I'm going to be reviewing Tokyo Joshi Pro's last big event, Summer Sun Princess, as well as Stardom Midsummer Champions, over on patreon.com/TrueHillHeat. Get your merchandise, ProWrestlingTees.com/TrueHeels, and check out, if you like AEW, AE Ramble from yesterday, AE Ramble number 52, Death Before Dishonor, where we talked about the barbed wire everywhere death match, as well as Fighter Fest Night 3. Check out tomorrow, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time, True Hill Heat 185, with special guest Matty Paddock of Daily Star. We're going to be talking about Triple H getting resuming his role as EVP of Talent Relations, plus all the wrestling news preview as well for Death Before Dishonor. And then 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, Death Before Dishonor watch along, hosted by Romeo. The gang will be here, Chris G, that's True Draw Josh. So join us live for that. And then we're going to have SummerSlam week starting off on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with our Rated Raw Superstars Raw watch along. We got our SummerSlam preview next week. We're doing a watch along for SummerSlam, as well as Ric Flair's last match show. Yes, Romeo is a wild man. He loves Ric Flair, and he's gonna watch along with us right here on Sunday at, I believe, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But what a card outside of this nonsense. And like StatKing said, True Hill Heat Sports tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. UFC London watch along, hosted by Romeo, Chase Oliver, who's in the chat, and Big Mike. Thank you all for joining us live. We appreciate you all. JJ, thank you. for subscribing to the sports channel. We appreciate you for that. We also got a bunch of love. Look at Romeo saying, "Did y'all just become best friends?" Yep. You
Gotta
love
give the
it.
people
You
what they
love
want.
it.
Yeah, man.
You gotta give the people what they want. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. For Joe Hulbert, for the StatKing, it is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. This has been our ROH Death Before Dishonor preview. We are signing off until next time.